Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstad and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Hey, Seahawks fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstad, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers, here to talk Seahawks football and preview the pending matchup. Thursday night football this week. The Seattle Seahawks visit the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is at 8-3. Seattle is now struggling and seemingly heading in opposite directions, unless Seattle surprises and manages to find a way to eke out a win on the road against what on paper is a superior team and try to right the ship. So got a lot to talk about. It should be a fun show. Welcome in, Keith. Hi.
Yeah, it should be a fun show. A lot to talk about here. And unfortunately, we are going to end up saying some good things about the Cowboys because they're a decent team this year. And that bothers me, sir. Yeah, right. I don't like saying positive things about the Cowboys, but this year we just can't avoid it. They're playing some really good football.
Well, it's easier to say positive things about them than it is to say positive things about our own team right now. Ouch. Unfortunately. But we will do our best as we try to remain positive on this show for the most part. We try to be realistic as well. And that's kind of where we're at right now. This team's kind of forced its hand upon us to be realistic about where we're at with this team. We're sitting at 6-5, but it feels worse than that because we've got these 3 epic games in front of us that we certainly won't be favored in. And man, if we could get one of them, even it would be good. I don't have any hopes beyond that. But man, if we ended up getting more than that, it would certainly turn the season around, and I would be a believer again. But you're right about the Cowboys. Dallas enters this contest with a top 5 scoring offense and a top 5 scoring defense. And they're lead the NFL in points per game on offense. It's running on all cylinders. Dak Prescott's having one of his best seasons. Their defense is outstanding. They're scoring tons of points. They're not giving up points. They're scored 33 points in the last 3 consecutive games and only allowed 15 points or less in that same winning streak. So it's interesting. Now, the thing that ties this team to Seattle, funny enough, is that Brian Schottenheimer is the offensive coordinator and Dan Quinn is the defensive coordinator, and they're looking good.
Yeah. Dan Quinn is a damn good coach. We know that. And we've seen it. And there's a reason why he's one of the top paid coordinators and will be a head coaching candidate again. Had interest last year and just chose to, be at Dallas and get paid a lot without that. I think he wasn't real excited about the individual opportunities based on the teams that were hiring. And so he is like going to be picky, and he should be.
Not to stir the pot, but do you think he'd be interested in the Seattle job? Should that become open?
Oh, absolutely. He'd love the Seattle job if it became open.
Yeah, I think he would. I really do. I think he would. He did well here. I think if it was some sort of succession plan or a handoff with him and Pete Carroll, I think he would enjoy the job here.
When Pete Carroll finally goes, I don't think he goes and just disappears into the sunset. He is also team president or maybe vice president of football operations. He's one or the other. He's John Snyder's boss by title, not just by structure of the way our organization works. he's got more titles than head coach, is basically what I'm saying. He might retire to that part of his job and still be around the team, still have influence, still, do that. And find someone that's going to run the team, that's going to be the coach, and be okay with Pete Carroll still being around. That may or may not be someone like Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn might be like, no, I'm not dealing with that. Or he might recognize, as Pete as a former mentor, that would be great for him. And it would help him avoid some of the mistakes he made when he was in Atlanta.
It's crazy, Keith, as you were saying that Pete might step back but still stay in the organization. I just have such a hard time envisioning that. Pete is just so in love with the coaching experience.
I don't think it's going to be soon.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be soon.
I think his contract runs out in 2025. I think he's here until at least then. That's 2 more years after this year, I think. Unless things just really go south, big time. He just seems like he's not yet lost anything as far as enthusiasm for the game, wanting to teach players and be part of it and on the field and throw the football around, all that kind of stuff. I just have a hard time seeing him step away like that, but it's entirely possible. There's certainly a time and a place that will happen, and nobody can really predict it, it seems. All right. So, we left a pretty devastating couple weeks. I think the Seahawks have lost 4 or 5, Keith?
Yeah. 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. And a couple of those have been by blowout, essentially. I mean, you can say that the 49ers did. They were soundly beaten. And then, of course, that Ravens game. And in between, they had a walk-off field goal to win a close game against the Commanders that should have been not close.
And a walk-off field goal loss to the Rams.
So how do we get competitive again? It seems like we've lost our way. We've lost our ability to be competitive. We've lost our edge. We don't seem to have an identity either on offense or defense. It's late now in the season. We're almost December 1st is upon us. The last 5 weeks, 6 weeks of the season here. And they had some pretty decent ambitions coming into this season. By all accounts, everyone was talking about making it out of the first round of the playoffs at least. And here we are possibly looking outside in as far as even getting into the playoffs. And so how do you take a team like Seattle that's going against 3 of the best teams the NFL has in these next 3 weeks and turn it around?
Well, I mean, this is a team that beat Detroit, who is one of the best teams in the NFC. Yeah, I know they just lost, but they're still the 3rd seed, if I remember right. And so it's the talent's there. They need to get back to doing what they do. They need to get back to being good at running the football and play action pass, converting on 3rd down. That's Pete Carroll football, at least the offense side of Pete Carroll football. If they do that, this team turns around, because what's holding this team back is the offense, and especially the offense on 3rd down.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Keith, because Pete Carroll came out and basically all but declared that he was going to get more involved in the offense, specifically on 3rd downs, calling out the usage of the players and the team's lack of identity. And when you do that at this point in the season, if you don't have significant changes, like starting this week, that message isn't being heard. by not only the players, but the coaches. And so I fully do expect some pretty significant changes to come down at this point. And it'll be interesting to see how that translates onto the field. Right before we pressed record, we heard that Abe Lucas is all but certain to come off the injured list and be activated for this game. Likely will start at right tackle for this team. I think that's a good start to getting the offensive line into a better play and give our running backs an opportunity to have more success, and Geno Smith as well. Hopefully that translates into some play action pass. And
if you look at what he did last year for the first 11 games,
you talking about Abe Lucas?
Abe Lucas. He is a difference maker. He's a guy you don't have to give help to with a tight end. You get more tight ends out in the routes, which helps your quarterback because now you've got the same number of defenders trying to cover more receivers. He also was dominant run blocker and opened a lot of holes for Ken Walker last year. So if that's the Abe Lucas that starts on Saturday, this offense just got a whole lot better. We saw from Charles Cross that when you miss that much time, even when you're healthy and you can come back, you don't always play at the highest level like you did the year before because lack of practice, your technique isn't quite as sharp because you haven't practiced. And he, like Charles Cross, has regressed. Hopefully Lucas doesn't do that, but I am concerned until I see him play at the high level he did last year.
Well, and unfortunately for him, it comes at a time where he's going to face Micah Parsons. He's racked up 11.5 sacks and 23 quarterback hits on the season, and face a blitzing defense. I mean, this team blitzes 35.8% of the time, although they don't really need to. They're pretty adequate when they run out of base, but 8th highest rate in the league currently, blitzing the quarterback. So they're going to have to figure it out quickly. And I wish him all the best. I honestly do, because his success is our success as a team for sure.
Yeah.
So let's talk strategy. Let's kind of get into the nuts and bolts of what Seattle should be doing against this team to try to give itself the best chance to win. I think it starts with controlling the clock, Keith.
It does. You have to, if you look at the games that Dallas has lost, they lost because Dak couldn't get in any kind of rhythm. The other team kept him off the field long enough that when he did come on, it felt like forever since he had got a chance to throw a pass. And that's what you want. That's what you got to do. You got to be able to convert on third down. You got to be able to use the clock, and limit the opportunities, but mainly just limit the opportunities for him to get into a rhythm, because he is a rhythm passer. And once you do that, you're in a lot better shape. Now you also have to get pressure on him, because he can be affected by pressure, but he can also beat your pressure. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah, Seattle's 15th in sack rate, 11th in sacks, and 10th in pressure rate. But in the only 2 sacks in the last 4 games, both against the Commanders, who had the highest, the 5th highest allowed sack rate in the league.
So we've been having 0 sacks in each of the 3 losses.
Yeah. And we didn't even didn't register a quarterback hit in the second half against the Ravens. 2 combined quarterback hits in the second halves of the losses to the Rams and the 49ers. We'd like to be able to rush the passer for sure. Clint Hurtt said the whole unit has to adjust to extra effort by opponents to slow what the top five, what was the top five pass rush through the first 8 weeks of the season. Rushing the passer has been a struggle in recent weeks, Hurt said, because of how opponents have adjusted to Seattle's hot start.
Okay.
Dak Prescott has the 10th lowest sack rate in the league, by the way.
Yeah. So Seattle got off to a hot start. Opponents have adjusted. Okay, coach. Make your own adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Can't keep doing the same thing. They figured out schematically what they've got to do to slow you down. Okay, what do you got to do schematically to get around those adjustments? Get your guys in a position. That's your job. Get them into a position to be successful. It's great that he recognizes it. Now, what does he do with it? Right.
But that is one of the keys to the game, is to get Dak Prescott off of a spot, out of his timing. When the Cowboys have the ball, they're ranked first in points scored, fifth in yards, seventh in yards per play, second and third down conversions, and first in completion percentage and so forth. So he's very accurate when he has the time. It's going to be hard. I mean, it's going to be hard. I think, we need to do everything that we do right. We do need to do it well. We need to rush the passer. We need to have some effect on the pass rush and get to the quarterback. We need to be able to stop the run, and we need to get some turnovers in order to be able to generate a couple extra possessions for our offense. I think that's going to be critical, and take the ball out of their hands. Shorten the field if we can, and control the clock by running the ball. I mean, to me, all those things kind of work together in tandem, both on offense and defense. And they're going to just have to do everything right, because the margin for error is 0 in these next 3 games, and it starts tomorrow. It's 0. So we need to just come out and really march down the field methodically, mistake-free football. Gino needs to take care of the ball, but also get the ball out of his hands quick, make quick decisions, and trust his teammates to make plays. We need to at least have a valiant attempt at running the ball in this game, and just see how that goes. But we need to kind of take some time off the clock a little bit, shorten the game. How about on offense, Keith, as far as trying to get into a rhythm, try to get something going on third down for this team? Seems like we've talked about this endlessly.
Well, if you look at what teams are doing, is they're just throwing extra pass rushers at Gino, and the team can't get around it. They cannot figure out what they're doing, how to pick it up enough to get the ball out of his hand. And either the blocking is failing and he's just getting hit early, or he's holding on to the ball too long and getting hit late. A lot of the struggles have been because of pressure. Hopefully Abe Lucas helps, and that's one less place pressure is going to come from. But what they've got to do is get the ball out of his hand. That stops it. That stops the best pass rushes. If you can get your quarterback to throw the ball quickly, he can throw it before the pass rush gets there.
Yes.
And when you've got guys like Tyler Lockett and JSN who can win early in routes, it shouldn't be that big of a thing. Like,
Gino also talked about running the ball a little bit more as a quarterback as well this last week.
I mean, that wouldn't hurt. He's had opportunities.
He rushed a lot more last year than he did this year, which is fine if you're able to complete passes, but they've not. I wanted to mention, too, that guard Phil Haynes is out in this game, which means that Anthony Bradford is going to get that shot at right guard along with Abe Lucas over at right tackle.
That's a good thing, in my opinion. Bradford's been better. And I understand he's younger. He will make bigger mistakes when he does make mistake. But overall, play to play, he's been better. And so this represents a potential upgrade at both right tackle and right guard in this game. I'm for that. Go for it. Do it.
The other doubtfuls and questionables: Derek Young, doubtful; Ken Walker's doubtful; Disley and Eskridge and Leonard Williams, all questionable, likely to play. So it doesn't seem like injuries is going to play a huge factor, except for maybe Ken Walker being out. And we'll just see how that.
It'd be nice to get Ken goes. Walker back.
Yeah, it would. It'd be nice to get Charbonnet going, though. This is a real opportunity for that kid to kind of step up and see what he can do. Didn't see a lot of success the last couple of games. We haven't had any explosive runs, but
he's not an explosive run kind of back.
No, but he does have the potential to break away for 20, 25 yards here and there. I've seen him in college do it. He's got
but
the
I'm
ability.
Just saying he's not Ken Walker with that 4.3 speed. He's a guy that he's a grinder. He's
like Chris Carson.
Yeah.
But even Chris Carson had his moments.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Carson's a good comp, except for Chris Carson was always hurt. And so far, Charbonnet's been pretty good about not getting hurt. Chris Carson also fumbled the ball a lot. So there's that.
So let's go with the Charbonnet version of that then. And Kenny McIntosh is going to get an opportunity here. He didn't. In order for Kenny McIntosh to really have an opportunity, I should say, we need to convert on third downs, because I think the longer we're on the field, the more opportunities we have. If we're going to be 3 and out, punt, field goal, punt, one of those games, he's not going to see the field. It's just not going to happen. We're going to be playing from behind. Right. So they kind of go hand in hand. All right. So is there anything else of importance that you want to talk about before we kind of get into predicting this thing?
They got to keep track. Dallas's defense is really good, but it's really good in part because they've got 2 elite pass rushers. The rest of the front is good, but those 2 elite pass rushers are what make this defense tick.
DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons.
Parsons, yep. This is a team, the Seahawks, that need to find a way to get bodies on those 2 guys and not let them dominate the game. Ultimately, like that, if you want an offense, there are other guys on that defense that make it good, that are going to give you trouble. And if you're double teaming those 2 guys every play, then other guys are going to be, without help, and they're going to get through and pressure Geno and all that kind of stuff. But in the end, those are the 2 guys that if Seattle's offense fails, it will be in large part because of those 2 guys. You've got to account for them.
So Jonathan Hankins is their nose tackle, and his backup is Mozzie Smith, one of our favorite players out of the draft. I'm kind of curious.
And Hankins was one of our favorite players a couple of years ago.
Yeah, agreed. One of their best players this year is Deron Bland, their cornerback. Guy's got 5 pick sixes this year. That's crazy. That's amazing. That's a real wild stat. That just doesn't happen very often. So he's definitely making plays. The guy you kind of want to have to pay attention to if you're Geno Smith. I like our opportunities to move the ball. I mean, I know that Dallas is what it is. They're ranked 4th in points allowed, 3rd in yards, 3rd in yards per play. They only allow, they're 2nd in the NFL in 3rd down conversions allowed. And that's our worst struggle. That's my fear right there. But if we can get past that a little bit, and then they yards per pass attempt, they're ranked 2nd in the NFL. Yards per pass attempt 5th. I mean, they're just a good, solid defense all the way around. There's no holes in this defense. Mm-hmm. So Seattle's just going to have to be methodical. They're going to have to take some shots, but man, they need to set those shots up. They just can't be taking shots all the time. or every third down attempt, 3rd and 8, and you're sending your entire wide receiver fleet out 25 yards deep. They need to take what the defense is going to give them, and whether that's running the ball, then you'd better be running the ball. If you're going to allow some things over the middle, short yardage completions, yards after catch opportunities, take those. If DK only has 1 catch in this game, and it's a crosser for 12 yards, then so be it. And they don't attempt a ball past 20 yards. That might be one of these games. It's been real frustrating for me, during these losses. Some of the route tree running and so forth, especially on third downs that I've been seeing, have just been disconcerting for me. Just low success rate passing attempts, and we haven't been able to protect Geno in the pocket, and he's been taking some bad sacks, and so it's been a bad combo. I'd like to see them improve.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty tired of the 40-yard sideline fade on 3rd and 4. That needs to stop. I get you've got single coverage out there, and that's what the read says, but it's still not a high percentage play.
Yeah, Seahawks rank 26th in points per drive, 28th in touchdowns per drive, 30th in red zone efficiency, and go out 3 and out at the 4th highest rate in the league.
Yeah.
And those things have to change now if you want to be competitive the rest of the year.
Yeah.
They have to change. That's it. If they continue to do what they're doing.
But that's why this team is 6-5 and not 8-3, 9-2. It's because of that right there. Because they don't convert on third down. They don't keep drives alive, and therefore they don't convert drives into points. The big plays that you're throwing it deep and you're stretching defenses and all that is great, but if you never hit it, if you never get those plays to land, you're making it hard. And last year, they hit those plays. There were a lot of big plays down the field. This year, they're not. So adjust.
All right. So give me your best case scenario out of this game, even if it's a losing effort. Yeah.
My best case scenario in this game is that, you look at what Dallas did against Arizona. They lost to a bad team because Dallas can do that. They've had a couple stinkers. Best case scenario is that they do that again, and simultaneously Seattle makes some adjustments offensively and defensively, and things really click. And if that's the case, the Seahawks can run up the score. The talent's there to do it. Right now, things just aren't clicking together. Even if the Cowboys don't, put up a stinker, the Seahawks have the talent to win this game. They've got to do it. They've got to make the adjustments that need making. They need to start converting third downs. They need to start protecting Geno better. Geno needs to start throwing the ball and not holding onto it for so damn long. Put some of that stuff together, and the Seahawks are a really talented, competitive team.
Okay. After you've said all of that, what is your prediction?
My prediction is that not enough of that happens. Parsons and Lawrence are just too much, and Seattle's offense continues to stagnate and puts up 16 points, and Dak and company does enough to put up 24, and Seattle goes down.
Yeah, I see it just a little worse.
Ouch.
In that I agree with everything that you said, but it's talk. We've been talking for a while. The team's been talking, coaches have been talking, the players have been saying the right things and just not getting it done on the field. And they picked a fine time to play one of the best teams in the NFL. I do not like the Dallas Cowboys, but they are one of the best teams in the NFL. They just are. Statistically, they are. Now, I don't know where their character is and where their makeup is, mental makeup and so forth. Are they susceptible to a letdown? Yeah, sure. And if Seattle catches them right and we do some of the things that you've been talking about, yeah, we can make this a one-score game and be right there at the end. I'd love that. But Dallas has scored 33 points in 3 consecutive games. I have no way of making a strong argument in favor of them slowing down at all against Seattle. Our defense, if our offense is not going to show up, our defense is going to have a long day. Mm-hmm. And I think Dallas scores points. I really do. I think they can probably score 35 on us. And I don't know that we can muster up 20 of our own against this defense and against ourselves. We're not able to run the ball effectively. We're not able to throw the ball effectively. We're not able to protect Geno Smith effectively. We're not able to stop the run as good as we used to. We can't get to the pass rusher in the last 3 games. We haven't generated any turnovers of note. I mean, we had a pick 6 last week, but that's about it. So I see this thing going down about 35-15.
Ouch.
35-17, something like that. And it's just one of those things where it's coming. We've talked about this stretch of games for the entire season, and here it is. And we are in the least equipped way as a ball club right now to handle this sort of team. Now, can they shock me? Yeah, and I'm here for it. Trust me, I want them to do nothing but win. But I'm not seeing it. But if they show me, I'm going to be here next day congratulating them for sure. But I want to see it. I don't want to just see the talk. They got to come out and show it. That's where we're at.
That is where we're at. So,
all right. Yeah.
Such a promising season seems to be falling apart.
I know. Well, it is a little bit, but they knew the stretch was coming. They've still got the 3 games after the Eagles. They could, I think, out of the 3 teams here, the Dallas 49ers again, and the Eagles, I think the Eagles are the team that they could beat. It's a home game. The Eagles are, as far as EPA and advanced stats and so forth, are the worst of the 3 teams. So maybe that's the game. But this is a tough game. This is a tough game. If they can win this game, Keith, and actually do it convincingly, do it in a way that tells me that it's repeatable and it's like, oh my gosh, maybe they're onto something. I'm going to be pretty excited about football after this game. But if they come out and play like they did against San Francisco, it's over in the first half. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm still going to watch the game, enjoy it. Hope everyone enjoys it. Thursday night, you got to get excited about that. Team usually does well on primetime stuff, so we'll see what happens. Anything can happen in the NFL. So I hope you have a good game too. I'm sure we'll be in touch during the game as per the norm. And hopefully we'll come back on Friday and we'll have something good to talk about. So, all right, let's get out of here. Find Keith on Twitter at Myers NFL. You can find me at NW Seahawk. The show is Seahawks Playbook Podcast. Find us on your major podcast platforms, as well as our YouTube channel, and hit that subscribe button. So until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook Podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NW Seahawk. Keith is at Myers NFL. And the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.